The Rotunda Building, or as others call it, the Atascadero Administration Building, is a historic landmark placed in the center of a small town. The original construction of this building took place during 1914 and was completed in 1918. It is now again the City Hall of Atascadero after the restoration took place due to the San Simeon earthquake. It is surrounded by evergreen grass, mesmerizing fountains, and the warmth of the downtown area. It was lost in relevance and importance after the building sat for nearly 10 years before finally being brought back to life. When living in a community, it is easy to become so adapted that things begin to lose their edge, almost as if we take our surrounding features for granted. But on the contrary, there are those that find even something we see each day just as breathtaking as the first time. The Rotunda Building cannot go ignored in assistance to the large columns placed at the entry door. And the dome-shaped rotunda at the peak of the building. This local landmark is the focal point of a small country town. Edward Garner Lewis was the mastermind behind this local landmark. He hired an array of different companies, but it was designed by the San Francisco architect Walter D. Bliss. The building was inspired by those of 1904 St. Louis Exposition, where Lewis had founded his first community. The Rotunda Building is one of the original construction pieces of Atascadero. The building gives you a sense of home. It is a building that has never changed in this industrial world. It is original, something that has not been misplaced but restored so future generations can see the small town history. Since 1918, when the Rotunda was completed, it has housed the town's city council meetings, chamber of commerce, city police department, the library. It has also served as a private school for boys, a veterans memorial building, and county offices, as Wikipedia has explained. It truly is a significant part of the city of Atascadero, though at one point the building went unnoticed after the San Simeon earthquake, devastating the building's structure and architectural details. It was the natural beauty that engaged everyone, bringing it back to its full potential. The Rotunda Building, as most other architectural buildings, have their own uniqueness and some borrowed details. The Administration Building is one of a concrete post and beam with unreinforced brick in wall construction, as explained on Earth Systems. The Rotunda Building is a double-domed Italian Renaissance structure. One ancient piece that caught my attention and inspired my choosing of the Rotunda Building was the Temple of Athena Nike in Athens, Greece. The Greeks had a way of inspiring most with their cylinder posts called columns. Like the Rotunda Building, the Temple of Athena Nike used the Ionic column. In briefness, every column has a base, shaft, capital, and entablature in order from the bottom of the column to the top. The Ionic order is decorative, feminine, and more slender than the other columns. The column was birthed in the Greek classic period. Though supplies were limited and architectural materials were scarce, the Temple of Athena Nike was constructed of durable stone and supported with crossbeams called lintels. The awning covering the entry door to the Rotunda Building is supported by Ionic columns, adding a symmetrical balance with 3 columns on each side of the entry door. The colonnade is relatively close to the 4 columns at the beginning of the Temple of Athena Nike. Both buildings include an abundance of horizontal and vertical lines, supplying each structure with elongating features. In Chapter 5, I struck gold with finding the Via Rotunda. Its design is almost identical to the Rotunda Building, Featuring the notorious dome-shaped rotunda, the Via Rotunda is an Italian house influenced by Greek and Roman designs, as mentioned in the Book of Exploring Art. Andrea Palladino was the architect behind the amazing home. He promoted symmetry and stability as controlling elements of architectural design. In relation to the Rotunda building, they both include a flight of stairs leading to the structure. A comparison I can make about all three structures was the use of Ionic columns. At the entryways, there are scaled perfectly to add a well-proportioned structure. Building both share rounded arches throughout each structure with the Via Rotunda and Rotunda building. The rounded arches create circular edges, adding to the endless amounts of horizontal and vertical lines included. Each structure includes the beautiful dome at the peak. Both domes rest on cylinders, helping the stability and support to a heavy stone and concrete materials. It truly is a gift to learn more about the lost local art found within the city. The beautiful structure is once again the iconic of Atascadero and presents the history restored. Restoration of buildings that have faced disaster are key to keeping history available for generations to come. Taking pride within your town and keeping the correct maintenance is very important. It's amazing how foreign countries' structural details have influenced our iconic pieces. In a way, it connects us with art. Though differences are obvious, it shows some idea of art was appreciated to live further into the future. Before the world goes completely modern, it's nice to know that not all local art is lost.